Hey guys, welcome to Red Devils United. My name is John, and we're going to talk very, very briefly about the Man United and Arsenal game, which was, in all fairness, just a shocking game of football. Just awful performance from everybody involved, and just something I hopefully won't have to talk about for very long. Really hated everything about that game. The formation and the players that were picked, I have no problem with that. Brilliantly worked against RB Leipzig. Should have done well, but it was individual stupidity, individual bad performances from basically every single player on the pitch that caused us to lose the game. We couldn't get out of our own half. All the players, they weren't looking for the ball in midfield. They weren't running between the lines. McTominay was constantly out of position, constantly standing behind players so you couldn't give him the ball. Coming deep to get the ball. Beyond that, Fernandez, very poor. Fred, McTominay, Fernandez giving the ball away. Unforced errors constantly. And beyond that then, you got Pogba, who had probably his worst game I've seen him playing. Really poor. Gives away the penalty with a stupid lack of concentration. And then a stupid kick of his leg, standing on the player's foot. As accidental as it might be, it's a foul. It's just unbelievably stupid, and it's cost us the game. Aaron Bissaka and Shaw weren't very good going forward, and Rashford and Greenwood were non-existent in the whole game. The confidence Rashford should have, taking a hat-trick from Wednesday into today's game, and he was just non-existent. He just wasn't even there. He wasn't even playing. So it was just horrible to see that. It was useless. And I just think United are going to have to go back to the drawing board on this. I was saying previously that we had 2 games in hand. If we win them, we're 3 points off first. Now, we're 15th, and we've lost one of those 2 games in hand. In a game against a team we should be beating, because man for man, we have far better players. And for whatever reason, they're just not performing in the league, and they're not performing at Old Trafford. So I don't know what it is about this team and this season in the league. They're just not carrying the PSG performance. They didn't carry it into the Chelsea game. And now again we have the RB Leipzig performance. Wonderful display. And they haven't been able to carry it into today's game. So really I don't know what to do about any of that, or what to say about it. It really was just an awful performance by everybody, and just something I wish we didn't have to endure. Gonna have a look at the chat, and we can see just bear with me now. So we can see with Dwayne Morgan, you can't play with 10 players. Dwayne's referring to Paul Pogba, and again, I thought that was his worst performance, or one of his worst performances that he's had. Not very good at all. But he wasn't the only one. I'd say you can't play with 0 players, because I don't think anybody played well today. McTominay was awful. Fred was probably good for effort. Very poor on the ball, very poor with his passing. Fernandez didn't offer much, gave the ball away a lot. Rashford and Greenwood may as well have not been playing, because they did little to nothing throughout the whole game, except for one combination where Rashford gave a good pass and Greenwood won a corner. But all in all, United just couldn't get out of their own half for pretty much all of that game. Dwayne Morgan's actually an Arsenal fan, so he's probably delighted with the result. But it was a horribly awful tough game to watch as a United fan. It was not enjoyable. The play wasn't there. It was basically the complete opposite of the RB Leipzig and the PSG game. And why that is, I don't know. I still can't understand how the players can play this way, in the Europe against the teams that are good teams, and then they're playing against, whether it's Crystal Palace, whether it's Brighton, whether whoever it is, they're just not playing well in the league. And it's just something about it. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they're starting so slowly. I don't know why they need to wait ages. I mean, even throughout this game, in the 65th minute, 70th minute, they're 1-0 down. They're still playing slow. They're still trying to just pass it, labouring up the pitch, and there's just no urgency at all. That was just a shit game of football. United now are in serious trouble, and not in regards to the league, but just if you have a league season where there's all the teams are fucking up, all the teams are dropping points, and it's a chance to actually stay up there with them. And as the season goes on, you could actually find yourself in competition, challenging for first or second. Now United are going to be in trouble if they don't start putting results together. They'll find themselves challenging for sixth. So they really, really need to get the shit together. Dwayne says Fred and McTominay can only play as a 2 and holding. You try to make them anything else, and that's the result. Yeah, I mean, they I know it was Matic and Fred against RB Leipzig. And I think Matic had a better handle. Matic played the deep role. Fred played the right side of the diamond. Pogba was the left side. And it worked unbelievably. And they played brilliantly together. They tried to do the same thing today. Except Fred was the deep player. And McTominay was meant to be the right side. And, McTominay never got on board with that. He never played that position. He kept dropping deep. And both of them were just fairly awful. Another thing as well is why you need 2 holding defenders is beyond me. I don't care how weak your centre halves might be. I don't care how strong your centre halves might be. Surely, you got Chelsea's. You got Chelsea with Kante, 1 holding midfielder. Chelsea with Matic, 1 holding midfielder. Man United with Roy Keane, 1 defensive tackling. Midfielder box to box. Liverpool with Gerrard, 1 midfielder. Real Madrid back in the day with Makelele, 1 defensive midfielder. Even Barcelona with Busquets, 1 defensive midfielder with Xavi and Iniesta playing around them. Why United need to lose an attacking player on the pitch and have 2 defensive midfielders is so annoying. It really is so annoying. I mean, we could play 4 with Matic in front or McTominay in front, 4 and 1 defensive midfielder, and then you have room to have 5 attacking players, whether that's 2 other midfielders and 3 strikers, or 3 attacking players and 2 strikers. I mean, I don't know why we need 2 defensive midfielders. It's just really annoying. You're giving up an attacking option just to compensate that, and you end up playing very deep. Everything was so deep today, which just made things more annoying because, like I said, we couldn't get out of our half. So yeah, really pissed off with the whole game. Really, really pissed off with every single aspect of that match, from start to finish. Even at the end when we were piling pressure on, it was useless pressure, just lobbing the ball in, that amounted to nothing. Stephen Norman, a lovely Liverpool fan, says, because your manager has no bottle, you beat PSG side missing half their team, and United fans do you blow it up? I'm not sure what you mean, but you look at the PSG game, they had some of their best players on the pitch. I don't care who you're missing, you're still playing against Neymar, you're still playing against Mbappe, you're still playing PSG, and they played really well. I don't know what your excuse is for playing really well against RB Leipzig. They had all of their team that was available, that is top of the Bundesliga, that is undefeated, and we destroyed them 5-0 in their heaviest defeat in Europe. And that's a team that finished semi-finalists of the Champions League. They got further than Liverpool did. PSG were runners-up in the Champions League and got further, and the 2 performances, it was night and day between those performances and then the performances against Chelsea and Arsenal. However, the performance against Chelsea was way better than today. Today was absolutely shocking. Arsenal did play well, but they only had a couple of shots on target in the first half as well. I mean, they had all the possession. They were getting corners, which can always be dangerous. But even they didn't, do very well. Stephen Norman says Leipzig main striker on the bench and the captain only came on too. That's fine, but that's their decision. We play players on the bench as well. We had Tunzabi on the bench, one of the better centre halves that played against PSG and was phenomenal. He was on the bench against Leipzig for whatever reason. We had Bruno, probably our best and most creative midfielder, on the bench against Leipzig. We had Rashford, our main striker, who scored a hat-trick on the bench against Leipzig. So, it's up to the manager to pick his team. If he doesn't pick his strongest side, or if he leaves somebody on the bench, then that's his prerogative. But, I couldn't give a shit. We still beat them, and we smashed them. But we couldn't carry that energy, we couldn't carry that confidence, and we couldn't carry that killer instinct into today's game. I mean, today's game was just like, you can't even compare the two. It's just absolutely shocking. Rob Fox, Ole needs to find a system that works against teams that sit back. Arsenal never play like this, but knew it would work today. But that's the thing, Foxy. Arsenal didn't sit back. Arsenal didn't sit back at all. Arsenal pushed up. Arsenal were basically defending in United's half. I mean, the whole team was pushed up. United should have easily been able to get out of the back four, get the ball to a Pogba or Fernandes on form, playing well, which they weren't, and then put a killer ball through in that high Arsenal defence. Rashford and Greenwood should have been able to make runs that would have killed Arsenal, and they didn't do it. They didn't even come close to doing it, and that's the really annoying part. Arsenal didn't sit back. Arsenal left the game really, really open for United to destroy them, and we didn't even take advantage of that high press that Arsenal had. In fact, we couldn't even get out of our own box. Arsenal didn't let United play today. They couldn't get out. Arteta is technically better than Ole. Well, I disagree with that. There's a reason Arteta didn't finish in the top four last season and we finished third. Ole has tactically switched things up since the Spurs game, and it has worked brilliantly. We got a brilliant result against Newcastle 4-1. Beat second best team in Europe, PSG. Went on to get a draw with Chelsea in a game where we were better and should have won. Then we went on to get a phenomenal result and performance against RB Leipzig. It just hasn't worked in this game, and I don't think that's to do with anything tactically. Ole's changed it up tactically at half time, changed the formation. It seemed to work for 15 minutes. Man United got on top of Arsenal. But then again, all the players and individual errors, unforced errors, misplaced passes, a lack of energy, a lack of enthusiasm, that was the problem, not the tactics. I don't blame anything on Ole in regards to that. That's the players individually misplacing passes. I mean, I don't think at any stage we got 4 or 5 passes together unless they were simple sideways passes. I mean, there was no intricate 1-2s and opening up space. It kept breaking down, but not because of a great Arsenal tackle, which there was plenty of those. It was to do with us just giving the ball away, and giving the ball away for no reason other than making a bad pass, hitting it too light, hitting it too hard, misplacing the direction of the pass. I mean, everything about our passing today was awful, and you can't blame a manager for players not being on it. And it's not just that the players weren't on it, it's that every single player wasn't on it. Like, pretty much all the players were lacking in this match as far as passing, runs off the ball, runs in between the players, movement. None of the players were showing that at all. Foxy, most of the league play this way, so if we don't sort it out, we'll be looking at the top 6. I'm not really worried about that, Foxy. I mean, you look at last season, towards the end of the season, we brought Bruno in, Pogba came back from injury, and we went 20 games unbeaten, beating all the kind of lower teams. And we have a great record against the so-called top 6, but we were beating all the lower teams towards the end of last season because we were able to unlock them and get the better of them, just like we did against Newcastle. We just haven't played any in recent weeks. The Crystal Palace game, we'd no pre-season. The Spurs game, we only had 10 men. So since the Spurs game, you've got Newcastle or PSG, Chelsea, RB Leipzig. The results and performances are there. This is just one where it was awful. Now, we have yet to play a poor team who will sit back, and we're not going to face it next week either. We've got Everton, and Everton will push. They won't sit back with a 2 banks of 4. We have to wait a few weeks before we come up against that, and when we do, I think we'll win those games. But we need to start winning soon. Dwayne Morgan, how can you not blame Ole? He kept Pogba on, asking McTominay to play further up the pitch. I'd have taken McTominay off. McTominay was easily worse than Pogba, and the thing as well is Pogba has something that McTominay and other players wouldn't have, and that is he can produce a moment of magic and he is able to get an assist out of nothing. He is able to beat a player out of very little, with very little space. And in fairness, who would you bring on for Pogba? I mean, we'd already brought on Van der Beek. We'd already brought on Cavani. So what's the point on taking Pogba off? There's nobody else in an attacking role that you could replace him with. Foxy says, I know you look Pogba, but he is most overrated world-class player. Where's his consistency? Where's any of their consistencies? They were all poor today. Every single player on the pitch was awful today, so I don't disagree. He played really poorly today. It's one of the worst players I've seen. One of the worst performances I've seen from him. But yeah, no, it just wasn't great. Rob Fox, Godwin, I'm not pronouncing that second name. Look at the bright side. At least Bobby Charlton won't remember this Manchester United side. Well, Godwin, that's a very poorly tasteful, unfortunate comment, so we will ignore that. Dwayne Morgan, Matan on the bench. I don't think so. The bench had, I think it was Henderson, Twinzaby, you had Matic, you had Vanny, you had Van der Beek. Mata may have been there, but I'm not too sure. If he was, I still wouldn't have brought him on. You'll have too many players. Van der Beek and Mata very similar. You wanted Pogba for the amount of corners we were getting, the height he offers, the passing range he offers. But as soon as Arsenal go one up, which was Pogba's fault, but as soon as they go one up, I mean, they were already defending well. And then all of a sudden they start lobbing on defender after defender and defensive player after defensive player, really holding out for their win. And Andy got it. So I don't think Mata would add much to that. Rob Fox, Magic once every 4 weeks. Well, no, he was Magic against Newcastle. He came on at 1-1 and we won 4-1. He was Magic against RB Leipzig, had a brilliant game and set up a great goal for Greenwood. He was great against PSG when he came on, also at 1-1, and he set up the winner. So I don't understand. Van der Beek looked good again. Van der Beek did nothing in that game that Pogba hadn't already been doing. So that's where I think people are being somewhat biased. Van der Beek did look good when he came on. He had neat passing, but he didn't really create any chances and he didn't have any shots. Actually, he had that cross that deflected off the keeper's face. But Van der Beek is coming on with fresh legs against what I'd hope would be a little bit of a tired Arsenal team when United were at least trying to get forward where they weren't in the last the first 65 minutes. United weren't even trying to get forward. So Van der Beek came on and he did look good. He played well. He played neat and he didn't lose the ball often. But I don't think he did anything outstanding. I think in that period, from when Van der Beek came on the pitch, him and Pogba played very, very similar from that moment. From the moment Van der Beek came on the pitch, him and Pogba had very, very similar performances. They both passed the ball well. They both didn't lose possession that much within that moment. Pogba is good off the bench for the last 15 minutes. Well, Dwayne, I'm not going to argue with that because he's proven to be coming off the bench like Van der Beek did, maybe against tired legs, tired minds, and he's picking out passes and he's using his pace and his strength to beat people and he's setting up goals. Pogba has looked good off the bench, at least in the last 3 games. I'd give him a half an hour, maybe 25 minutes. Come on, the 65th minute, but I'm reluctant to blame Pogba as the only bad player. Every single player on the pitch for United was like playing at 20%. Nobody was running. Nobody had any urgency. Nobody was passing well. Everybody was misplacing passes. It's fucking awful. I'm so angry. So annoyed. We had 2 games in hand. We win those 2 games, we're 3 points off first place. So I don't care about the positions in the league. We would be 3 points off first place if we win our 2 games in hand. And all we did was just throw one of them away. Alex Maguire, Arteta showed all of United's flaws today. Compact defence and focus United to pass backwards all game. They did, but I would argue they didn't really have a compact defence. it was hard to say we've seen really anything of Arsenal's defence at all for the first 60 minutes. Um, the best part of Arsenal's defensive game was the front three and then two midfielders. I mean, United barely even managed to get to Arsenal's defence for them to be compact. They were basically defending from the front. They were pushed high up the pitch. They blocked United in. They forced long balls that United then kept misplaced passing, losing the ball very quickly, and simply just giving it back to Arsenal. Sometimes that was due to Arsenal being good. A lot of the time it was due to United players passing the ball very, very, very poorly. Stephen Norman, I agree with United. I agree with United needing to find a system. Problem with that is I don't think Ole has the bottle to keep the big name players on the bench. Also, he will constantly be challenged for his realistically United. I'm not sure what that means, but I don't think it's to do with ball keeping big name players on the bench. You take a player out of the team like you did with Pogba against Spurs. Great, showed the ball, took him out of the team. We're 1-1 against Newcastle. He brings Pogba on. We win 4-1. Benches Pogba. We're playing PSG. We're 1-1 against PSG. We're not winning the game. Pogba on, sets up the winner. Now you're playing against Chelsea. I don't think Pogba started. Playing against RB Leipzig. Again, Pogba actually starts the game and plays well. You take a big name player and you bench him, that's fine. But when you bring him on, if he then plays well, assists a couple of goals, you then eventually have to start him again. You can't just keep him on the bench. If a player, any player, big or small, expensive or academy, if you have a player like Van der Beek for argument's sake or somebody else and you benched them, when you bring them on, if they start playing well, United fans don't completely trust them. Okay, that's fine. United fans are completely split, but United fans are generally split on everything until the success comes in. It's hard to get a consensus on anything. But getting back to your point, he had benched a big name player, but when you then bring that big name player on and he starts playing really, really well, what do? You have to then start them. They're playing well. And again, Pogba wasn't the only player who played bad today. I would struggle to name a single player that had a good game. Aaron Wan-Bissaka maybe had a okay game, but going forward he didn't really offer anything. Shaw, I think, also maybe had an okay game considering the amount of pressure they were on, but other than that, nobody had a good game. No midfielder played well. Bruno didn't play well. Fred, McTominay, Pogba, none of them played well. So everybody jumps on the Pogba bandwagon. I refuse to jump on the anything bandwagon. If Bruno played well, McTominay played well, and Fred all played well, and McTominay was the only player that played shit, we could all sit here and say, wow, Pogba was shit. But he wasn't the only player. Every player played bad. And Greenwood and Rashford also offered little to nothing up front. And granted, they got very little service. They didn't get anything. But when they did, they lost possession. So yeah, nobody played well. But if you bench Rashford and then Rashford comes on against RB Leipzig and scores a hat-trick, you play him. If you bench Pogba and Pogba comes on and changes 3 games from draws to wins, then you play him. He played Van der Beek. Now Van der Beek has come off the bench a couple of times, but in this game he didn't change it. We still lost. Now if Van der Beek had to come on today and we drew 1-1 or we win 2-1, thanks to him, then you know for a fact he'll have to start the next game. But he didn't do that. So I agree. Find a system. Play the players who are playing well. But when those players that you've benched come on play well, then you're going to have to eventually start them. You can't just keep a player on the bench for the crack. And I agree, the fans don't completely trust Ole, but the fans don't completely trust anybody. It's the same with Liverpool. And you've got Jota. Does Jota start the next game? Because Firmino's been shit for about 7 or 8 months. Talk about benching big name players. Firmino has to be benched. Jota is in way better form. But let's see if Klopp has the bottle to bench Firmino. We wait and see. Ole did bench Pogba. We did get good results, but it seems it seems a bit paradoxical. we benched Pogba, we got good results, but those results came good when we brought Pogba on off the bench. Now, unlike Dwayne says earlier, Pogba coming off the bench is good for the last 15 minutes, but you can't keep a player on the bench if they're constantly helping the team and changing the game. The chat seems to have slowed down, it seems to have died, so we may leave it here unless anybody has anything else that they want to add to the conversation. Just wrapping it up, awful performance from United. Really, really hard to watch. Very, very just not enjoyable. And you have to just look forward to the next game and hope they put in a better performance. But the league performances, which honestly it's what matters most, we need to find, I'm not even going to say consistency, because we haven't played well in enough games to hope for consistency. The only game we've played well in the league was Newcastle. We didn't play well against Brighton, but we won. We didn't play well against Palace. We didn't play well against Spurs, obviously. We haven't played well today. Probably the worst performance in the league, even worse than the Spurs game, because we only had 10 men. So yeah, awful. Rob Fox, yeah, but here's the thing, John. Ole needs to get them consistently good. That's what the managers do, and if they can't do it, they drop them. Yeah, absolutely. You need to get players consistently good. I wouldn't argue if Pogba was dropped for the next game. He was poor. But I also wouldn't argue if Bruno was dropped, or Fred was dropped, or McTominay was dropped. They were all poor. So now you've no midfielders. So, I don't know what you do. Stephen Norman, keep the chat to 15 minutes as is. I actually read that at first. I read the keep the chat to 15 minutes, right? I read that part while I was talking to Rob, and I thought that's a good point. I could do that, because I do want pre-match pre-match talk and post-match talk, post-match reactions to be shorter. I want to keep them from 15 to 20 minutes. So yeah, but then I read that and it's just a joke, but it's a good one. And from a Liverpool fan, it's a bit hard to take, because those bastards are sitting top of the table. And if we had a won today, and we win our other game in hand, we're only 3 points off, and then it just it wasn't to be. So load of bollocks. Stephen, I'm only kidding. Chatty again. Steve, look, thanks for joining. Really appreciate you jumping on, having a chat, having a bit of banter. Congratulations on the win yesterday against West Ham. I didn't get to see much of it, but Carragher said he didn't play very well, but he's got the result. United didn't play well today, and we didn't get the result. And I know which one of the two I would rather be, and it is not this one. That's for damn sure. Robert Fox, I'm off, John Powell. On to the next great work. Yeah. Listen, guys, we'll wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for joining live. Really appreciate the contribution. I honestly thought this video would be 5 minutes long, because I'm fuming and really, really, really hated the game. Unenjoyable, load of bollocks. And hopefully then we can bring it up and get a lot better. But thanks again for everybody joining live. Thanks for contributing. Look forward to chatting to you all again in the next video. And having the chat running and some comments back and forth. Mentality Monsters, Steve, well, we need a bit of that, that's for sure.